Hello, friends. Good evening. It's evening here, so good evening, good morning, good day to all. Uh, just to give a small introduction about myself. So I'm Sandeep, and I was born and brought up in Mysore, Karnataka. I'm basically from Kerala, Idiki. Now currently working in an IT organization from last it's been like 15 years journey and overall journey in IT. That's on the professional side, and a personal side, yes, married, having a small daughter, like 4 years old daughter, and my mother, my wife, and my daughters. Uh, we all stay together in Bangalore. Okay, so the idea behind creating this channel and sharing across this thought. So I was like, it's been some time, usually, a lot of things. Sometimes when you don't have work or you're not engaged, so normally a lot of things wander in your mind. So similarly for me also, I start thinking, whenever mind is idle, and one of the thought which came to my mind. I thought of sharing that. Interesting one. I hope you guys would like that. Uh, this is something which touches, the life, day-to-day life of each one of us. And I wanted to put this idea across, our thought across all of us, just to think and see if this really makes sense, and how do we navigate it further, and how do we take this further, bring that into our life. So as to begin, I'd like to start with one of the famous quote from Charles Darwin, right, where he says, "The only thing that is stagnant in this world is change." Right? Yes. So the topic that I'm going to discuss is around change. Maybe I can say change management, right? Since I come from a professional background of IT, and those are part of IT. You might have heard about this change management term in your IT world, right? Maybe some of the jargons we use, ITIL framework, where ITIL is a framework which we use to manage our IT systems, and which comes with sort of processes to adapt, right? So speaking about that particular ITL framework, sometimes I start. That's where I got the trigger, I believe. It's because I normally I'm part of the support projects in IT, where we use this framework to manage our service operations. Basically, we are into service industry. So I'm into service industry. So service operations role, and we use this concept to manage the service operations. Not getting into very technical aspect of the technology world, because then those are from the non-technology background, they might get carried away with it. So, but there is a reason for me to bring this, a broader overview of this, and trying to correlate with our day-to-day life. Okay, if you ask me how, again going back to the framework, the IT framework which I said, which says ITIL, and there is something called incident management, problem management, and the change management. So I'll not go into detail of incident and problem, because those are related, but not so. I'll like to touch that at a later point of time. But yes, these are different. Basically, what what we do in IT, we have certain processes, certain guidelines, certain frameworks that we have defined to manage the smooth functioning of the IT landscapes, technology, and systems. If these are not there, what happens? So it would have been very messy, it would have been very difficult to manage. It's okay if there are like one or two systems or a small landscape, very, very small business. I'll not say okay, but we may be able to manage in some or the other way. But as and when the landscape becomes huge, the business grows, the data becomes huge. Definitely, we need we cannot imagine managing these systems in the right way, catering to the business, helping the business grow, helping the business to grow in the right way without these processes in place. So these are the binding again, the pillars which help us to ensure that the operations, whatever operations that we do, when I say operations, like the tasks that we do to help or manage the systems, makes our life easy, gives better output, right? So we have realized that the value of these processes, right, value of this framework in managing the life, the ecosystem of the IT or the technology devices, right? And I'm just taking a pause and looking back to our lives, right? Do we have some processes to manage these tasks, or this complex system of thoughts that we go through? Do we have some process? Do we have some guidelines? Do we have some framework? Right? Maybe some of us may have what I think is okay. Our mind is always a complex entity to understand, and there are certain principles that has been defined in the society, and some of us follow, some of us does not follow, some of us draw our own thoughts, and right, various parameters, various processes, various, I can say, various thoughts, that ways that we have. But just thinking of one small aspect, right? Because where I'm coming from is, just have to make it very clear where I'm coming from. So there is something called, as I said, change management in the IT side of the world. And what this change management says is, the framework or the processes involved in a life cycle of changes. When I say life cycle, from beginning of the change to the implementation of the change, we have some processes that we follow, and which helps us to carry out that in a very structured and way, or not, or I can say in a process that helps us to ensure that the change is successfully implemented. But when it comes to life, we also go through this change, isn't it? There are, when I say, as I said, change is always a very broad term, but yes, from our childhood to the time when we get older and older and older, there are a lot of changes that happens in our life. A kid grows from 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, and then he comes into a teenager, and then he gets a job, he finishes his studies, he gets into marriage life, gets married, and he then later on, he or she gets in, will have kids. That's altogether a different phase of life. So each the changes, as I say, change is always inevitable. So we cannot stop that, right? At each phase, there is a change that is coming into our life. And how well are we managing these changes? Do we have some principles? Do we have some framework? Do we have some processes to manage it? Something to be thought of, right? Something we need to think of. And why is important? Why this is important? Next question, right? Because we see that now many of us fail to get along with these changes, or I can say successfully implement these changes in our life. And a perfect example I have to quote, if I say, if it is a change happening in the system, we have something called rollback plan. How do I say in very simpler way? You have, all of us use mobile. So we let's say we wanted to update our version of this mobile, or Android next version. That's a change. So we upgrade our version of our Android version, and let's say if that does not, so it's creating some problem, and we are not very happy with that. It's creating some phone is getting slow, and we want to go back. What we'll do, we'll have a backup. It will create a backup. It's just a matter of just restoring back the backup, and your phone is back to the normal version, and it's fine. But is that so easy in our day-to-day life when we get into a change, and then to roll back that change back to the earlier state? It's not that easy, right? We all accept that. So so in that sense, in that case, the change that happens in our life, the way that we plan our changes in our life, becomes very crucial and very, very important than what we do in our professional side, right? Many of us must spend our day long time working on important things and important changes, business changes, technological changes, moving our infrastructure from on-premise to cloud. Those who understand the IT side, they can understand. So these are all very, very complex changes we manage. A lot of complex changes, technological changes, data, big data, small data, Hadoop, etc. Whatever it is, right? We all play with these critical, crucial changes, multi-dollar changes and all. So, but sometimes we kind of don't give that much of importance when it comes to changes in our life. High time. It's high time. We need to realize that, isn't it? Just to give an example, right? So I was just thinking, nowadays we see a lot of problems with the relationship, right? And which eventually leads to divorces, and so people have to go apart. It's not easy. The way the pain they go through, right, in this broken relationship is very, very difficult. Not only impacting individuals, but the entire family gets impacted because of that. The children, they have a huge impact, right? Why does this happens, right? There are reasons. Everybody has their own reasons and to say, okay. But first of all, as we have learned from our childhood, precaution is better than cure, right? So we need to understand, we need to digest, we need to ensure that whenever we get into a phase of life, like in this case, a person who is getting into a marital life is going to have, this is a change, right? This is an event in life which is going, where he or she is going to see a different phase of life. A lot of changes that's going to come. Two families, or two souls are going to meet, right? And to be, if I have to term it in a very divine way, right? They are going to share the thoughts. They are from different background. They are going to come together. They're going to live together, right? And ultimately, things are going to change in and around the way they're going to take this together, right? Being said that, I don't. It does not say that okay, one has to change the authenticity, right? Everybody are different. Everyone are different in their own way, and it's not that this does not say that we have to change the way as a person. I have to change, but yes, some events, when certain events happens, there are things that is going to change in our surroundings, right? You will notice the changes in our around us, and how do we adapt to change, how do we plan this change, how we need to ensure that we are managing these changes in a way so that this change is successful, right? So, like I said, complex change happens in IT, right? Like you move your, maybe it might be running some of the systems which might like let's say Google, they are in cloud, they are hosting data to multi-million billion businesses, right? Any small change, even a small change that you do, will have huge financial impact, business impact. You have to be very careful doing that, right? And how do they plan these changes? As I said, it's a life cycle. It's a process. It's a life cycle of change. Change management comes into picture, and that's been followed, right? Which involves, the process starts from the beginning of, at least whenever we start thinking of okay, I need to do some changes, from there it starts, and then till this is implemented, the entire process helps us to navigate this smoothly. In our life also, I'm just thinking, so this makes me to think, okay, do we need to define something, or do we need to have, people have to be serious in thinking, okay, these changes in the life as well, and to understand, okay, what is going to come, right? And what is the impact? So one of the major thing that we do as a change is impact analysis, right? When this change comes in, what is this going to have impact? Who are all it is going to impact, right? And if I do this, what will happen? If I do that, what will happen? So this impact analysis is also very important when it comes to our life as well. So the thought here is, okay, for any successful event in our life, event is nothing but there is something going to change, right? So we need to plan that in a way, whether we use processes or not, I'm not sure which process, but whatever processes that we should ensure that we do the right set of impact analysis. We understand that this is something which is how our life will be after that particular event, and then how does our environment, when I say environment, is because in IT we say dependent systems, right? When I change X box, right, when I say X servers or X system, it might be connected to different other systems, right? So how does, in our life also, if this change is happening for me, how is it going to impact on others as well? We need to ensure that, okay, how this is going to impact others, and then implementing, right? Then we implement the changes in a way so that all others are in sync, right? So taking again back to the example of marriage, right? Marriage, similar way, it's a change. It's just something which two families are going to engage together. There's a new phase of life that we are starting. After marriage, there is again going to be a phase where we get into parenting, and the life goes on and on, right? So these are the changes that we foresee. We anticipate that to come, and based on that, we have to plan things well ahead, right? Are we mentally prepared to get into that? Because our life may be different before marriage and after marriage. Like I may have to spend certain time. I will have my own me time before marriage, but after marriage I'll have to spend some time with my partner. Understand what is that, what are the thoughts of the other person, what he or she thinks, and then other person has to understand what me and what is my lifestyle, my family background, and the family background of the other person, the partner, and so all this due diligence, I can say, all these things have to be analyzed, and then we get into, a lot of us we do that, right? A lot of us we do. It's not that we are not doing it. We do that, but eventually when we get into that change, right, when we are going through that implementation phase or change phase, many of us fail to adapt to that. So why that failure happens is something we would have not evaluated that, or we mentally we would have not thought of, okay, this happens, we'll have to get into this kind of stage. This is what is going to come. And it's not, life is not something where you can have a UAT, where you can do a UAT in the sense, that is, we'll have, before going to production, any changes we do it in a lower environment, right? So that option is not there with us, unfortunately. We do a test in our test environment, and then we move to production. So that is not there. So, and I said the rollback is also not very easy. So I had time to think, folks. So I thought of sharing this just to give a thought. Okay, so as we do this, we can also compare. Those are from the IT side. They can easily compare this with their daily life. What are the changes happening, and how do we manage our changes, right? Maybe if there have been some process like ITL or Agile, so it would have been easy for us to navigate through these changes. But just giving it a thought. So this is going to have a huge impact on our life. These changes, whether it be, as I said, growing from just a kid to an adult, and then to other phases of life. Everybody sees a lot of changes, whether it be parenting. A lot of kids we see now facing problems with depression and other things, right? A lot of things I could say. I could see that I can correlate with these changes. Some of them easily are able to adapt to these changes. Some of them are not able to, right? And also one more important thing which I forgot to mention is, okay, guide, mentors, right? Whenever these changes, whenever we get into these changes, guide and a mentor play a very key role helping us to navigate through the changes, because we don't have a process, right? We don't have ITL process also. When I say mentors, like for a kid, the parents play a role of guide and mentor, right? They are the ones who help them to navigate those changes from a kid to a teenager. They get into an adult phase, and then they move on to taking their job, and then they get into a marital life. So the parents play a key role, or the elders play a key role. The siblings, brothers, sisters, they are all guides or mentors who play a key role. Whether it is like once we get married, we have both the families, like if it is the father-in-law, mother-in-law, like a woman normally after marriage, when she's getting into parenting, when she's carrying, and all these are all different phases, changes, huge, very very crucial changes that happens, where the guidance, the mentoring will definitely help people navigating through these changes. So that's what I wanted to share. Thought of sharing it today. Hope you like this video, like this thought. If you liked it, just click a like button, and let me see if I can come up with some new thoughts, and just trying to spark something which can help as in our day-to-day life, managing things, and if because uh, ideas are the ones which create future change, right? We say. Uh, let's not stop here. You can also share your thoughts and ideas in the comment section, and we can discuss further. Thank you. Have a nice day. So, take care. Bye.